Oh, I think I unmuted a smidgen too late there. Hello, folks, and welcome to another Art and Frog stream. If I had a nickel for every time I did an Art and Frog stream, I would have 2 nickels. Which isn't a lot, because I haven't been streaming as much lately. Anyway. Speaking of which, some good news on that front. This is the last stream on the diminished schedule. The last one, the very last one. The next stream is going to be Deltarune on the 4th. And after that, streaming schedule will be slightly different. Still, because Deltarune is kind of a big deal. And then, after that, it will return to normal. I wonder if you can guess what series I will be replacing Die in the Dungeon. Anyways, I've got one special kind of a sprite to do today that I have to work on, and then we'll be doing frogs for as long as possible. Basically, until I feel too tired to continue. In an attempt to beat the next die difficulty. Anyway, I'll be right back, and then we can begin. Alright, folks. If I did this correctly. Yes, I did. Alright, so. This is going to be something of a tricky one. It's maybe a little confusing to describe, but one of my players, I may have mentioned previously, when we did the frog stream, the one where I did art of a frog to begin with. My players have been transformed by some wild-shaped magic, and each of them had different effects that were applied to them. One of them was turned into a frog, and had several other effects happen. And the one that we're doing art for today... was turned flat. It's in 2-dimensional, like pancake. They got flat Stanley. But then after that, let me see. Gotta pick a good size for this. But then after that, another condition that was applied to them, I called it slideshow. They move from frame to frame as though they were a neon sign switching between different positions, or as though they were Mr. Game & Watch. So it's a tad peculiar, but that's what we're working with here. And in order to demonstrate that, I want to make their in-game sprite be an animation. And that's going to be difficult. But I have an idea. I have a plan. In theory, it should work out just fine. So, they are an archer. They use a bow made from polished bone. It's a magic bone, but we don't really need to get into the specifics of that. Okay, so I think the first thing I want to do is make the bow in question. We can do that. Give it a little bit of extra heft. Little curve to it, give it a bit of body. More material. Just gotta pick a position that looks good. There we go. And then the tips, I think I want to look special as well. Because they were carved out in a unique way, perhaps. This one. There we go. Oh. Okay, just gotta make it look. There we go. That should do. That looks consistent, I'd say. Okay. Now for the string. I think that goes underneath, probably. Shrink the brush size. String. Dark, maybe dark brown. This character is a ranger, and the bow was made from natural materials. In its entirety. Okay, that's fine for the bowstring. No, that's... They don't meet at the same place. They don't meet at the same distance away, which means, in turn, that the arrows would not fly straight. Speaking of arrows, I do mean arrows, because... Let me think. They would be behind the bow from this perspective, I believe, if the right arm is drawing the bowstring back. And the right arm is going to be drawing the bowstring back for a very specific reason. I forget how exactly the logistics of that work, because it's been a long time since I have drawn a bow myself. This particular instance notwithstanding. I mean literally drawn a bow. I have drawn a bow before. That's the stupid joke. Anyhow. There we go. Fletching. Let's make that green as though it's... Actually, let's make it purple. Actually, let's make the fletching white. For a specific reason that I will show off soon enough. Not quite large enough. Actually, no, purple it is. There we go. That's the neat thing about this character that I suppose that I've never really explored before. From a narrative perspective. Because this character is a bird. And as such, it would make sense for her to make her own fletching. Okay, so let's bring that down. Get a bit of detail in there. I have no idea how much of this is going to be showing up. How much of it will be visible. Okay, now let's make special arrowheads on this layer. They should probably be brownish. But we'll make them poisoned, because that's another thing that this character can do well. So since so much of the rest of the drawing is going to be purple, we'll use a nasty toxic green. To tip it in. Perfect. Absolutely oozing with this stuff. There we go. That looks good, I think. Okay, and one layer on top. And this layer is going to be close to the same color as the fletching, but not the same exactly. Let's try that. That looks about right. Speaking of bird feathers, kind of spread outwards. So it would look something like that. Except that I think is maybe too high. I was worried about it interfering with the rest. But that shall do, I think. There we go. A couple of feathers curling around the bow itself. And tips of the arrows holding them in place. Perfect. Let's move that finger down a smidgen. Let's actually move this finger down a smidgen too. There we go. I'd say that looks pretty good. And now we use a lighter purple, transparent so that it doesn't interfere with the color too much. We use a lighter purple for highlights on this. Too light. invisible. That a smidgen so that it tapers at that side. That works. Okay, and now up on this layer we use this color for the other wing, drawing back the string. And holding this end of the arrows. Think Breath of the Wild Rito. If you need to help you picture this. Actually, I should have made this on another layer. But it's okay. Instead of using the eraser, I can just use the original color. There we go. I think that'll do fine. Alright, and here's why. We're going to use this. And for the animation, I will make two images. One with it like this, and one with it like this. And, except not literally just rotated. It will be repositioned as needed. It will be repositioned as needed, and then saved, and then I will have a GIF maker alternating it between the two positions. All right. Now time to do the rest. And this is where I start to get worried. Use that as a joint from which this will turn. And that will be the other. Well, I don't think I need the other arm. Not if I angle it correctly. All right. top will be decorated with a pauldron and then a cape. Pauldron. Is that the right word? Pauldron? Actually, give me a second. Am I using that word correctly? Correctly. Pauldron. I spelled it correctly? What do you mean it didn't match new web results? Yep, nope, pauldron is correct. That's so strange. Why didn't it give me any results for what I needed? Anyway, we're back. Actually, hang on. Okay, yeah, I did have that hotkey. I just did not use it. Oops. Actually, we are going to be right back because for the sake of accuracy, I'm going to check what armor this character has on, because I know it's a pauldron. I have it in the backup stat sheets. Just gotta find the right item. I'm gonna have to remember the claw guards. Ooh, that's gonna be irritating to draw, I think. They have a neck guard and a bandana and a vest, a moss vest. And a gauntlet! How did I forget about the gauntlet? Yeah, they have light armor, and then, you know what? We're gonna do the classic RPG thing. Some of the things are not gonna show up on the character sprite, just because that'd be a lot of drawing to do. Okay. We'll just do... You know, for the sake of, interest in regards to the color, we'll start with the moss vest. That's not really a vest, is it? It's got a shoulder. None of it's got a shoulder. We'll start with that, and then make it gray. For the enchanted Thorns armor. Although, hang on. Cloak, and then bandana. Nope, too much. Okay, and then we use a slightly different color for over here. Too dark. To show that's the other side of the body. That'll do. And then in front of it can be the bandana. odd little gap of transparent pixels there. Banana. This is the assassin's bandana, and they are associated with the color blue in this because it's a particular assassin that this belongs to. There we go. That'll do. And taper that to a point. And taper that to a point. Get a darker blue. Use that for folds in bandana. Tie there. And a shading there. That is close. I'm actually going to there we go. And then erase the top bit. Bit of extra shading on the armor there. I feel like that works. Okay, and note as well that this is not going to be there. It's going to be here. In fact, I should put it there so that we have a better sense for where that's going to be now that I've finished the arm pivot spot. We'll actually take that and add a bit of purple back here. To further make it look like that is correct. In fact, I should do it behind. There we go. Alright. Torso, mostly done. Although, hang on, the cloak. The cloak would be hanging over the back of the bandana, covering that up. Unless it's pinned under the bandana and the hood is hanging back here. And then the cape, yeah, okay. No, that works. That works better. And the cloak itself is a much brighter purple. It is called the Cloak of Eminence. It's okay if this doesn't look perfect, because it is going to be very small. But I do want it to look good, at the very least. So let's put that off there a bit. And this is going to be behind the legs, hopefully. So we won't have to worry about that so much. Give me a sec, actually. What pixel is that there? Why does it look like it's semi-transparent? Because the background's showing through. Why? It should be... That's very strange. Wait. Hang on. Oh, I color picked from the wrong layer. Duh. That's why it wasn't changing at all. There we go. Okay. Now for the shading on the cape. Slowly taper off up there. There we go. That'll be fine. And then, you know what? I will do a similar thing here. As though that is a fold in the cape. Because it is not... That'll do. Because it is not falling perfectly evenly around her form as she is in an action scene right now. That works. Yeah, I think that works. The brightness of the cape with the darkness of the shading on the cape, contrasting with the highlights on the darker wings. Yeah, I think that's okay. Thinking about how the legs are gonna look. I think we extend the armor further because she didn't have anything listed for the leg slots outside of potentially the Thorn's armor. So I'm just going to say that that is full body armor now. No, I color picked the right shade. Something about this doesn't strike me as quite correct. I feel like the pose is not a very good one, but I don't have one of those little mannequins that you can... No, I color picked correctly. I don't have one of those little mannequins that you can pose as you want. Yeah. I think that's okay. Now we take that darker color. We use that for shading. Works, but then this will be thinner because it's further away. Actually, should it maybe be thicker because it's further away? I think that'll do for now. It's missing visual intrigue, though, so I'll have maybe a sash or something that's tied around the waist, but hanging down on the side. Make it a blue. That will probably show when it's moved, so let's take this and make sure that that looks adequate. And this will probably not be visible, but... legs are going to be essentially that color. Now, this is something that I've been avoiding drawing specifically because I don't... Avoiding drawing in the past, that is. Specifically because I don't want to have to think about the logistics of this. But, I'll try to make it as simple as possible, and then let my players' imaginations fill in the rest. Because this is going to be claws. Legs, end, and claws. Making him gray is okay. I should have a little bit of color to them. And, you know, I know what I can do. I mentioned claw guards earlier. Let's just cover these up with something else. Because it's specialized armor for the feet that allow for a special attack. And I'm going to sharpen these into looking more like talons, hopefully. And then the shading should help as well. Make them look less like swimming flippers and more like its actual claw armor. Fastened around the front somehow. There we go. That's not great, but it looks... It doesn't need to look at organic so much anymore because it's not organic. That's fine. That's not the weirdest thing, though. We're gonna get to that. Because, and I mentioned this, becoming two-dimensional was not the only strange thing to happen to this character. I'm just gonna move this upwards so that the perspective looks like it works better. Maybe shrink it a smidgen. No, this doesn't work quite as well because the color was thrown off. There we go. changed my mind about one thing. And that's, from the inside, this is going to look different. So I should have it be not fully identical. There we go. So from this side, it looks as though parts of the toes are showing slightly. Okay. It is not the only strange transformation that this character has gone through. She has also become part dragon. As odd as that may sound, I put it on the list of things that could happen. And it was the first thing that happened. It was very rare, very slim odds that should occur, but, you know, it was all up to the dice, and the dice decreed that this character became part dragon for this particular session. So now I'm stuck thinking about color again. Because it would tuck down behind beneath the cape there. So let's go with a slightly lighter purple. And then we can use dark purple for the scales. There we go. A nice Susie tail color. There we go. And we can have it scoop down into kind of... There we go. Flattening slightly there because it hits the ground. Whereas the top does not stop. Because yeah, that's good. That's good. That's good, I think. And now shading to show approximately where, because this is a curve. It doesn't go whoop at the end. It doesn't curly hue up. It is laying on the ground in a curve. Although she's two-dimensional. I suppose that wouldn't be possible. It's okay. It's okay. And this is the color for these scales, specifically because this character had white feathers that looked like a mohawk on the top of her head prior to the transformation. So that will be replaced then with these pale whitish purple scales. This color and darken it. And erase the transparent bits that are not on the tail itself, so it tapers. Not that far. There we go. also want to do little patterns that in turn curve along the shape of the tail to better accentuate the curve that is happening here. Because once they go from at a diagonal to nearly horizontal, that should further sell that the tail is curving because it is laying flat on that spot. Hang on. One more right there. Hopefully. Hopefully. That's the effect I'm going for. Right now, I suppose it kind of looks like it's a Raisin Bran mascot, which is slightly disappointing. It would droop more. Nope, where am I? It would droop slightly more, not be going down at quite such a harsh... That's what's wrong. Okay. Lower it slightly. Accentuate the curve further. I don't know, maybe it sounds weird when I put it like that. That's not as bad. I think that's acceptable. No. We zoom in here, and we do another one of these, showing a wrinkle there in the cape from where the tail is affecting how it is laying on the body. Actually, if I did one up here, would that not further sell it? Actually, wait a minute. Stupid idea. Or maybe not stupid idea. This probably would have been a better look to go for in the first place. Not that. That one. There we go. Okay. And then I take this color and darken it a... No, do I darken it a little? If that's the case, then I should take this color and lighten it. honestly, I think that works. It catches the curve of the cape. Although, if I really want to get a little crazy with it, what I should do is then take that curve, scoop it around this, and cover over just a tiny bit of this with it. There. It's not perfect. Actually, if I take this in turn and move it up slightly, there we go. I feel like that better looks like it feels like it flows with the cape. There we go. That's good. That's solid. Also, I don't think this is quite sized accurately with the other sprites. Especially considering the frog is about as big as this one is. But the frog sprite will probably be shrunk down in slightly. For the sake of it. Okay. Head. Also, no longer a bird. It will probably be the same color as that. Question is, I've been watching people play Deltarune Chapters 1 and 2 over again. I was ahead of the curve. Time and time again over the course of the last month or so. Some for the first time. That was fun. Ooh, I could do the head too. The head could move too. Now that I think about it. Can I make a convincing reptilian head? Okay. I'll actually take this, and because it is now a joint, I will give it a bit of leeway. I do this in Minecraft skins too, so that it doesn't look awkward if something doesn't line up quite right, because the Minecraft, whoa, swinging my legs all over as I run and sprint and jump and whatever, make things not quite line up perfectly. Wait. No. I wanted to do that on layer 3. There we go. Okay. Well, These both are labeled layer 3. I'm not sure why. Anyway. Oh goodness, we're already an hour in. I was sort of hoping to do a second one today, but I guess that's not going to happen. I don't need it quite yet anyhow, so... Lower jaw, nestled into the top one. That'll do. Down, grab the highlight color, or shading color, rather. There we go. Erase that. There we go. So now it looks like it blends in with the neck better. And there. Oops. That's fine. Let's use the color instead of the erase tool. A little bit on the ridge there. Just a little. And then that for the snoot. There we go. I suck it. Proper draconic slit eye. There we go. It's a little difficult to tell here, but I think it's okay. There we go. Adds a little bit of jag to it. And we can throw in a little crocodilian type tooth there too. A bit of ridge to that. On the opposite side as well. And can't forget the scales. And these would do well be shaped in an interesting way. No, not that. Maybe like thorns. Oh, yeah. No, no, no. That works perfectly. Thematically for the character. Ah! No. Didn't mean to jump like that. Come on. There we go. Work correctly, please. Thanks. The head's still looking a smidgen barren. Let's take... There we go. Take those and give them a little shading of their own to start off with. Make them stand out a smidgen more. There we go. Grab that color again. Not that one. That one. Looks too much like an ear. I don't know. Maybe it's okay, maybe it's not okay. I kind of like the idea of it looking like a frill. But I don't know if that's how it comes across. So if I take this and then rotate it. Okay. What I need to do is, and thankfully this is easy to double check because I can just hide the layer underneath it. I need to make sure that it likewise slots into the neck correctly. In any position that I might end up deciding to put it in. Oh, no. What if a couple of purple pops of plumage on the neck? Now there. I'll erase that one slightly. As though we can see in part where... Oh, no, I'm trying to grab that color. As though we can see in part where it's going from reptilian scales to... How about... I think that's all right. Needs more here, though. I think these might not be large enough. There we go. Now that's something to behold. And now we take that color. Use that for the... There we go. Too far out. Alright, acceptable. I think that's good. I think that's good. Okay. Okay, so. Merge down, save. Unmerge. Take this. Rotate it up. That'll do. Take that layer. Rotate it up a smidgen. Put it back in an agreeable spot. Now, merge down. And I'm gonna real quick tab off while I save this as... There we go. Okay. And now we tab back. Okay, now I'm going to take this whole thing and size it up slightly. Bounding rectangle size 200 by 200. Let's increase that to 225 by 220. Well, anything else slightly larger, I think. 230 by 230. There we go. Right? Actually, I shouldn't move it. There we go. Okay. Save. And now, I open the other one. There we go. And now I resize this one, likewise, to 230 by 230. Leaving it in the same position. There we go. So, if I swap between them... No. There we go. The head doesn't really move a whole lot. Well, I suppose that's fine. The animation itself will go a lot slower. Anyway. That's it for this. See you in a little bit for Die in the Dungeon. Hooray!